Andrea is one of the newer member or newest members to Fractional Sales Consultant. There's actually a couple people who joined the week that when you joined. And yeah, we're meeting now because you've just closed the deal and also had, I think, a big breakthrough when it comes to just like the career development and knowing kind of how you can position these asks and find a great deal. So for today, we're going to talk about a little bit about your story with Fractional Sales Consulting. And then also, I think just talk about the journey. So I would say, well, for starters, if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself, your age, where you're from, your background, context prior.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, thanks for everything that I found so far in the community. So shout out to you and Victor. I am Andrea
Appreciate it.
Famularo. Yeah, I'm Andrea Famularo. I'm an Italian sales consultant, and my background is in the self-publishing industry. So I used to produce books and sell books as a service and also as products in the wholesale market and also on Amazon all over the world. And then I decided 2 years ago to transition in high-ticket sales, and I became probably the highest paid setter manager in the market in America. And I helped the trading company to scale from 50K per month to a peak of $1.6 million in a month.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty good.
and so I really love sales. This is what I do, and I had an idea to upgrade, like of being a sales manager to upgrade to sales consultant because uh, I literally helped to build this business, this eight-figure business, and I had a great experience also managing over 20 people and also the systems and operations that are required. Maybe more leverage and work less, but making the businesses more money, and that's why I found you, right?
Yeah, 1000%. And so with all that experience, where were you at right prior to joining fractional consulting? Because it seemed like you were at an interesting place kind of within your career, the businesses and things you were
Yeah.
working on. So yeah, where were you at right prior?
Yeah, prior I reached the multiple six figures per year, and now I'm living in Thailand. So here it was a pretty good life, with this kind of income. But with my time zone and everything, I necessarily decided to upgrade and also to mitigate the risk, let's say the business risk. When you are a sales manager, you work with one company. Uh, Being a sales consultant, you can bring a lot of leverage, a lot of money on the businesses, and you can have multiple clients. So I decided to interrupt that previous collaboration, regardless of all the money that I made, because I also wanted a balance and to leverage very well my skills that I believed be better than just managing the people. I wanted something more, and
Hmm.
I found the courage to decide to start this path. I had this idea, exactly the fractional sales consultant. I had this idea, but I didn't have any idea on how to implement it. So in the past 2 months, let's say, I visited my family in
Hmm.
Italy, and I went to Dubai to meet some businessmen to a mastermind, and I traveled with my wife, and now
Hmm.
back here and ready to go close the first fractional sales consultant deal, a great one with a great business owner. So let's go.
Hmm. Yeah, 1000%. Well, so I think even before the deal, I think elements of your story there, right? And for anybody who's watching this, adding a little bit more context to that, yeah, you had seen huge success with that company, that offer that you were with, but it turned into a situation, and that's something that I even talked about in my story too. It's just, sometimes when you're not the consultant, where you're not at that equal status of the business, and you're still kind of viewed as that employee, that's when they can get like that death grip over you and just your freedom and what you can do, right? And I remember you had mentioned, at least on our
Yeah.
original meeting, that it was like that just turned into a, how much more can we get out of Andrea with no regard to what you want, out of the whole situation,
Yes.
the whole ordeal, right? It's like how many more hours can you give? How many more things can we nitpick and manage and just keep working this? And there comes a point where, if you're working for somebody, you're always kind of at the helm of their expectations of you, and it's really hard to get your time back. And I think that was one of the things that you mentioned as well, which was, the money was great, but it came at the price of your freedom, your sanity, soul, and all those things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
And so
completely true.
now, what sort of things, 'cause I mentioned to you, you tried some other programs or whatnot. So I'd be curious to kind of hear your story about like, prior to me, what other things had you tried or looked at? And then what was it that you really felt separated fractional sales consulting apart from some of the things you had tried and really led to that, taking the jump and joining us on the inside?
Well, having such a cash flow coming in the past 2 years,
Hmm.
I was able to join multiple courses and masterminds and whatnot. So I can tell that the level of sophistication for the real sales professional that you put in is incredible,
Hmm.
and I really appreciate it because it's like to understand how to replicate a system and the process, and also have like the infrastructures,
Hmm.
the files that you have, and the way that you think is
Hmm.
very, very high level, in my opinion. While
Hmm.
in also other in other courses that I tried for closing or even setting, I didn't find this level of sophistication, and it's like those courses is to be an employee, is to, yes, you can make a lot of money, but not to find leverage. This
Right.
is like something more of an entrepreneur, something more of someone who is more leveraged and
Hmm.
really understood the game of sales, and then
Hmm.
can step to the next level,
Yeah.
including marketing, other stuff.
No, 1,000%. And yeah, and what was, I mean, if you could note any, I mean, what was kind of the biggest like insight I think you might have had? Well, I guess what was the straw that broke the camel's back where you were like, okay, cool, I'm gonna give this a shot? Because there's a lot of people I definitely speak to or who might be watching this who are like, well, is this just like you talked about it being like another, of course it's a training program, things like that, but I think a lot of people are jaded to that whole idea just because of their background and their experience with it. So, but like, what was the big thing that was like, the straw that broke for you that you were like, okay, cool, let's go ahead and give this a go?
Yeah, basically, I had the exact idea and the exact name to describe what we are
Mm.
doing.
Hmm.
So back to January this year, I purchased like let's say an incubator, like a
Hmm.
kind of mastermind, a program from a guy in Canada, a very expensive one, to understand how to leverage this kind of grow partner model, kind of stuff like this. But these
Hmm.
guys, they they added too much complexity in their things. It
Hmm.
was more of an agency, more of a structured business.
Hmm.
Here, we have the possibility to be solopreneurs or also leveraging other people, but
Hmm.
it seemed like the perfect fit, in my opinion,
Yeah.
because I came from a place where I also stopped to close the deals myself. I was training also the people managing,
Hmm.
but here I believe that we have so much more leverage, and uh, like any sales manager that would like to upgrade, or even people that they really understood the sales game, this
Yeah.
is incredible and exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah. And you touch upon a key thing there that I try to make as a really key distinction is like, you're not an agency where you have all of these systems and whatnot for yourself and you're necessarily building your own business. It's you want to find your way into a company and really position yourself to maximize their growth, but also capture as much of that as possible. Which brings us to, I'd say, your deal. You've struck a pretty good deal with the guy that you've got now. So yeah, if you could talk a little bit about yeah, well, I think people are always curious. So, like, one, how did the deal come to you? Where'd you kind of source the opportunity? And then what was that process of actually working it through to a close and talking about comps and things like that?
Yeah, first of all, I think that closing and negotiating is a different game. So this is the first
Hmm.
thing that I found like in your program. So when you have to close a deal on, or everything is based on the psychology, and also you can understand based on the other person. But in this case, it's a little bit more sophisticated. Is the nuances of the things that you can say and you can understand.
Hmm.
So I I met the business owner that I am partnering with now, like 2 months ago. He was
Hmm.
partnering with another business owner trying to merge. The merge
Hmm.
didn't go as expected.
Yeah.
He's a very well-known guy in the health space
Hmm.
with an incredible network. Like most of the people that you see on YouTube, he helps them.
Yeah, large
He has a
influencers. This is
crazy
the guy.
network.
This is the guy behind the guy, right? He's keeping all the big guys healthy and things of that nature.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
and so I really enjoy myself what he's doing. So basically, I had a genius idea to pretend to find like a setter manager job or even closer like a job as a closer, and then
Hmm.
I I expressed like my experience and everything. So that was the hook, and
Hmm.
I got a lot of appointments because I really have an incredible like a case study and experience on this. So I met this guy and we liked the way that we talk about business and everything. He understood my value. He understood my expertise as I understood his. So
Hmm.
we reached the point where we closed the deal to the terms that I negotiated, and he was very keen to do it, and me as well. So
Yeah. 1,000%. And I think like you touch upon something really interesting there that I try to emphasize. Like I work so hard to emphasize that it takes people a while to wrap their head around is that like the relationship that you built there and the kind of gradual separation that comes between you and them and the trust that comes with that. And that's really like you talked about, like closing and negotiating are two very different things. Like closing and high ticket sales, it's like this is what it is, this is what it does, in or you out. The negotiations is depending on how they feel about you in that moment or how you present things and speak things is greatly going to determine how they see the value and then working that, right? But you had done such a phenomenal job in positioning yourself and kind of keeping yourself in the right light and having the right level of professionalism for there to be enough trust for you to close a deal like that. And if you're comfortable disclosing, I mean, everyone's always curious to hear, but what were the actual terms of your deals? Because you actually got
yes,
a shockingly good one. The fact that you got the rev share of everything. So yeah, if you want to share for people who are curious.
well, yes. First of all, yes, the thing that you said, it's true. And I closed this deal with a retainer
Hmm.
plus a 10%. I would not disclose the retainer. It's not pretty
Hmm.
high, but a retainer plus
Hmm.
10% revenue share plus a
Yep.
relation for equity, which is something that I really wanted and also discussed with the guy because I believe in the project. So the
Hmm.
equity on the exit, because when I was making 20, 30K per month with my previous collaboration, I found myself thinking, wow,
Hmm.
I I am making so much money, but of course, the business owner is making millions, literally
Right.
millions,
Right.
and I have no assets. In
Hmm.
fact, when you are a sales manager, even a glorified sales manager, you can be the best. The top 1%, I saw a guy in Australia, an Italian guy making 1 million per month, probably is the GOAT.
Hmm.
His name is Marco. I saw a video on YouTube, so they
Hmm.
sent me another
Yeah.
Italian in the sales space. Well,
Yeah.
probably is the GOAT. If he doesn't have any equity or assets or things, that's it.
Right. Right. And I
That was
think
what I thought.
yeah, and you're the one of the first students who's actually gone so far as to go for the equity play. And I am very bullish and optimistic, I think, for the future of like this guy and what he's building, just because of the niche that he's in. He actually has something that can very well turn into something very, equitable. I know that there's other players in the space who have things of that nature. So, and I think the beautiful thing too, I mean, you talked about the rev share. This isn't also you work this deal to not just be a rev share of new cash, it's rev share on all cash that's coming in.
All
So
cash.
you're getting the upside from day one. One of our other students, Jack, is probably one of the only other people who has. Bob, I believe, got that too. I'd have to clarify with him, but Jack got that with one of his clients, where he's getting 5% of all cash on top of his base, and so that just makes the incentive that much stronger. It makes it so much easier to hit high OTEs because, you're once more, when you talk about the leverage piece, that's without you need to take closing calls. You're making pretty much as the closer would without having to take any of the calls and you get some of the
Yes.
upside there, right? But, the work is a bit different. It's leveraged. And I think outside of this deal too, obviously, I mean, you've been working hard as far as the pipeline. So you've got a couple others that you're working on as well in the background. So yeah, so it's very feasible, I believe. We'll have, with your workload now, are you like in the process, when you think about taking on another deal, do you feel like that's something that's manageable? Because a lot of people always ask
Yes.
can I actually have two, three clients? How does that work? How do I actually get to, there's so many skepticisms around that.
Yes, I think that in this case, this this model can bring up to the people that you can manage. It's up to you how you deliver
Hmm.
the service, how you stay in touch, how you understand and clarify the pillars of the
Hmm.
collaborations
Hmm.
with the businesses that you're working with.
Hmm.
So it just comes up to you and your understanding of the role and how you
Hmm.
can bring leverage. So I'm very, very happy and excited to start this journey and to
Hmm.
upgrade my skills because this is something that we will discover how many clients we can have. And for me, is
Hmm.
something that all the people they can have like a different number. Some
Right.
people two, some people three, one,
Right.
7. It just
Hmm.
depends. We are not an agency. We are a leveraged professional
Right.
to the highest level in the sales space. And
Hmm.
I really really like this idea of being similar to the more famous fractional CMO, but we
Hmm.
are very similar, but more on the sales side. So in my
Right.
opinion, we can bring in even more money to the businesses.
Thousand
And
percent.
because that's and we are partners, entrepreneurs that we partner to make more money, and we are incentivized with the percentages and everything. Just we have to make sure to make great deals,
Hmm.
and also the fact to have multiple customers
Hmm.
allows you to don't have like a client concentration, like only one as me
Right.
or most of the sales manager, because when
Yeah.
you are a sales manager or a closer, it's very, very, very difficult to have more than one client. Very
Yeah,
difficult.
right. Especially if you're a closer. And a closer, like it's not time for money, it's time for, it's not the time for money or deal, right? But it's like you have to have slots to take calls. If you're a sales manager, you have to have the, wherewithal to deal with those accounts. But it's like the beauty of the FSC, and I've even had this with my clients where it's like you get to a point where you can promote somebody to sales manager and you're managing, you take care of them and their production, right? Just because things can grow. But exactly as you said too, like there's a lot of different ideas of like, well, you could just be a marketer, you could just be this, you could just be that, but you don't have as much of an impact on the revenue. It's like when you're the fractional consultant, you are right between the money and the business. And so that's where it's so much easier to collect your premium, for doing that. And it's also you have so much more control. And, it's not like there's something else that's out of your hands. I've got a client, it's coincidentally, Bolt Deals, like they're a marketing agency for real estate
Mm.
investors, but challenge they run into, they're great at providing leads for real estate investors. The real estate investors sometimes are terrible at closing them. And so it's like, that's where it's like, well, that's outside of his hands, and if they have to churn because they can't handle it. So like you said, if you're the CMO, you can't necessarily own that. But if you're if you're the FSC, then that definitely fits a lot better. So no, 1,000%. But yeah, exciting things ahead. I'd say it's been an absolute pleasure. What would you say for anyone who's watching this who is skeptical? There's a lot of people who meet with me and then they come to the testimonials page and they rip through them and are like, oh, I don't know if this is legit. I don't know if this is it. So yeah, what would you say for someone who's on the fence?
No, I would say as a guy who was making 20, 30K per month, which is pretty good in the high
Mm,
ticket sales, I found that you are a very great professional, also Victor, and I can only recommend your level of sophistication in the organization and everything. So
mm,
I can testimony your value
mm,
and everything that you are doing, and I believe that for any real sales professional, this would be the game changer if someone like me or you or other people want to ascend to something more than a
mm.
sales manager or a sales person. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
1,000%. I appreciate it. It really means a lot. And so,
You're welcome.
I guess that's all for now, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. So if you're curious, depending on where you're watching this, go ahead and click a link somewhere around it and set up a time to meet with us if you're curious about FSC. And yeah, I guess until next time, all the best, Andreas. We'll see you on the inside.
Bye.
Cheers.